What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Very happy to be here today. Hope you are all doing very well. Before we even get started, I just want to thank you all for the support on the channel.
I'm your biggest fan!
It really means a lot to me, and I truly appreciate that you guys are finding value in this content. Today I'd like to speak to you guys about something I mentioned in a previous video, where today we're going to be talking about the PRX in quartz. We're also going to be talking about the Gentleman in automatic, and we're going to be looking at the PRX in the 35mm and the 40mm to show you guys the difference between those two sizes. But there's been a lot of debate online as to whether the 35mm and the 40mm are actually too small. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, today I'm wearing the 35mm PRX in gold on my wrist. I think we can talk about this one right now, get it out of the way, because I think it's the most unique out of the three watches that we're going to look at today. The PRX 35mm may be small to some, and it may not be small to others. Some people might think it's the perfect size, and a lot of the time people are talking about their wrist size. That's why I thought this video was so important, because everybody has a different opinion when it comes to this stuff. A lot of people are asking other people's wrist sizes and things like that. For future reference, my wrist size is 6 inches around, okay? So the 35mm looks like this on my wrist. We're also going to be getting some far away shots to show you guys the difference. Now, personally, when I first put this on, being somebody who wears 50mm watches, 54mm watches, 45mm watches, I've worn large watches a majority of my life, and considering I have very small wrists, I've never found them to be a problem. I think that's kind of like the culture, or what most people typically do. I think a lot of people, especially in the United States, look for a larger watch when they look for watches. I've never found a problem with it, and I don't find a problem with it now. I must say though, when I first put this on, this was a shocker. I was not used to this at all. It was extremely small in my opinion, and my wife actually, when I showed her and I asked her opinion on it, I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys, she said it looked a little bit feminine. Now, she's used to seeing me wearing 50mm watches and things like that, and I told myself, I have to take her thoughts into consideration, take my thoughts into consideration, and I have to let this decision kind of sit with me a bit, because neither of us are used to me wearing smaller watches. The reason why I chose a smaller diameter for this watch is because I thought that if I were to get this watch in the 40mm size, like the normal PRX comes in, it would be a little bit too large, a little bit too gaudy, because of the color. Simply because of the gold color, okay? I wear big gold watches all the time, and I actually love the look of it. But it is over the top, it's extremely gaudy. And so I wanted something that was not gaudy at all. I wanted something that was going to pack a punch in terms of look, but not be too much. So I thought that the 35mm in gold was an absolutely fantastic choice. And after having wore this for, a few different occasions, outside, inside, I've been spending a lot of time with this watch. I am very happy with the size. Initially, when I first put it on my wrist, I was shocked. I was saying to myself, this is too small. Now, do I think they did the right thing by making it a 35mm? I think that Tissot could have made this maybe like a 37mm or maybe a 38mm. Maybe a 36mm. I don't know what the perfect size would be. But I have, again, very small wrists, and I do feel like it might be a little bit small, at least the initial shock. It's a little small initially. I am very happy with it now. Very happy. And I would not, personally, for me, purchase this in a 40mm. I'm very happy with the 35. And as you can see on my wrist, at least up close, it does not look that small. It is very appropriately sized. I feel like my mind and what I am conditioned to actually causes me to feel like the watch should be bigger. Back in the day, watches were much smaller. Men's watches were much smaller. And as culture changed, the watch became, I think, a statement of power, how you are perceived in society, and therefore watches got larger. I like this look because I think it is an elegant, understated look. I don't think you can pull off an elegance with a larger watch. Now, is a 40mm watch too large? It depends on your style. It depends on what you like, because at the end of the day, this is all opinion anyway, right? These are all just thoughts and opinions. Everybody has a different body shape. Everybody has a different body, everybody has a different style. These are all just opinions. But for me, I feel like this is more of an elegant look. Somebody in the comments actually in the last video mentioned that this looks exactly like the Rolex that Tony Soprano wears in The Sopranos. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that show, but when that was mentioned, I absolutely 100% agree. I think that Tony wore a Rolex date, something along those lines, and it definitely looks very much like that. It is an understated look at 35mm. At a 40mm, I think it could still be an understated look, but it will look like a much larger, more gaudy watch. If you were to go out and wear this, and you wanted to maybe put a dress jacket on or a suit or something along those lines, more of a clean, more understated, more elegant vibe, I think the 35mm would be good. So now that we've got the 35mm out of the way, let's jump to the next two watches on the list. That's going to be the Tissot Gentleman and the Tissot PRX. The PRX is going to be at 40mm. Now you might be noticing that I'm not going through all the specs and all the different facets of these watches. And the reason why is because there's a million videos online that will talk about this. What I really found I needed was not necessarily the specs, although they were good. I needed the specs in order to make a decision, but I found that I needed more of a comprehensive opinion. A lot of people hit me up, if you guys are new to the channel, a lot of people will hit me up and say, I'm this size, I'm this weight, I'm looking at this type of chain, what size would be good for me? That was, the reason I started the channel was because I was that person. So I thought you guys watching the video could use that type of help. And so I needed that type of help when it came to these watches. I didn't necessarily find it, so that's why I am creating this video. We have here, they're both 40mm. When I first put the PRX on my wrist, I was very impressed with it. I did not know that I would be as impressed as I was. Now, I saw it online. I saw how beautiful it looked. I saw how unique the band was, how retro of a vibe it gave off. And I said to myself, I think it's great. It is a huge bang for your buck watch according to all the big players in the watch game. Everybody who talks about the PRX, whether it's the automatic or about the quartz, either way they're talking about how much of a bang for buck you are getting. And let me tell you, when I put this on my wrist at the 40mm size and at the 35mm size, I was very, very impressed. And the reason why is because it is so comfortable, even at the 35. But this band is so comfortable. It is like a second skin on your wrist. The way the links move, they contour to your wrist, at least mine. I had to size it, obviously. But they contour to your wrist, and it makes it very, very comfortable. It definitely helps the fact that those links are so beautiful. Take a look at the way the light reflects off those links. Everybody talks about the way that light reflects off the links, and that's for a reason, because it looks gorgeous. The reason I purchased it was because of the hype. I said to myself, I want a watch. The hype on this watch is really, really good. I don't necessarily even really like the look too much, but I want to purchase it because it's supposed to be a good bang for your buck, and I feel like that is the case. I think you're getting a lot. Even with the quartz version, I think you're getting a ton. Even if you went with the automatic, you'd be getting a ton. I just personally didn't necessarily like the waffle dial on the automatic. I didn't like it. I thought it was a little bit too much. I like the sunburst style. I'm very happy with it. I think it actually looks like a deeper, I think it gives it more of a depth. So with the waffle dial, less of a depth in my opinion. With the sunburst dial, more of a depth. I think you can kind of look into that watch and really appreciate the depth. But everybody's opinion is different, right? So I liked that, but let me tell you, I was not impressed with it when I was online. It was something that had to grow on me, but online. But when I put it on my wrist, it took about 5 minutes for me to get extremely comfortable with this. And now I have to say, this is my go-to. This is my go-to. Initially, I thought the Gentleman would be my go-to. Beautiful watch, very well constructed. No problem with the quartz. As far as that second hand goes, when I first purchased the watch, it was not exactly on the markers. And you'll find as the day goes on, sometimes it'll hit the markers perfectly, sometimes it won't hit the markers perfectly. It changes up. Whether that's normal or not, I don't know what to say. It's something that I don't know if it's supposed to do that or not. I mean, when you have an automatic movement, that second hand is sweeping. So I don't know what to say about it. You wouldn't be able to tell if an automatic was hitting the markers dead on because it sweeps. So is this normal? Is it not normal? I don't know. I'm not a watch expert. I'm just coming at you with a very realistic point of view that I do not think you will be upset about this. I like an automatic watch. That is something that I love. Everybody, I think, likes an automatic when compared to a quartz. I mean, there's reasons why you wouldn't like an automatic, like you have to set the date, set the time. If you don't wear it long enough, it shuts off. You know, you got to reset everything. But a lot of the time, people like that beating heart behind the watch. I don't feel that way. I thought I would. But this watch bracelet and this watch case is so phenomenal, I don't feel that way. When I wear this watch, I feel like I'm on a little bit of a power trip. I walk around with this watch, and I think this watch makes me feel good. That's why we buy things, right? Because that item will make us feel good. It will improve our lives. Do you need a watch? No, you don't need a watch, but it is a nice thing to have. And let me tell you, I forget that this is a quartz. So if you're wondering, should I purchase the automatic over the quartz version? If that's a question in your mind, because it surely was a question in my mind, I don't think you'll remember that this is not an automatic. Once you put it on your wrist, I don't think you're going to remember. I don't think it's going to be a problem. The reason I bought this watch was because of the case. It was because of the band, because it was getting so much hype as to its construction, the beautiful work that was put into the creation of this case. At the end of the day, if you buy the PRX, it's very likely you're buying it for the look. And if you're buying it for the look and not the watch itself, you don't have to spend, in my opinion, all that extra money on getting the automatic, unless you just have to have the automatic. But then keep in mind, you're stuck with the dial change. If you like the sunburst and you don't like the waffle pattern like me, you're stuck with it at that point. So I think that you'll be very happy with the quartz. It is absolutely beautiful. And let me tell you, when I wear this out, people have craned their necks to see what's on my wrist. Not everybody. Most people, I don't think, are too much into watches. They just want a gaudy statement, like 90% of the time. But I've noticed craning their necks to see this watch around my wrist. That could be because they were around in the 70s and they're getting some nostalgia. Maybe they're collectors, or reminding them of the Royal Oak, the Rolex date, or maybe the Nautilus. I don't know, because it kind of does have some, I don't know, it kind of does look a little bit like each of those watches. Those are typically the watches that this is compared to. Let's move on now to the Gentleman and compare the Gentleman to the PRX. With the Gentleman on the wrist, let me tell you, they really appropriately named this piece, okay? They very appropriately named it. When I saw this online, I thought I was crazy because everybody was choosing, when comparing the Gentleman to the PRX, everyone was choosing the PRX. And I said to myself, what are these people nuts? The Gentleman is just a gentleman. It's sporty when you want it to be sporty. It's casual when you want it to be casual. And it's elegant when you want it to be elegant. And it is all of those things in one neat package. When I put the PRX on, somehow my mind changed. The Gentleman, in comparison to the PRX, it's more of a consistent piece. It's more of an everyday watch, something more similar to what you would see normally on a daily basis, okay? It is not standing out, and that's the beauty of it. It looks like a beautiful, functional, elegant, all-around, perfect timepiece with wonderful, beautiful style. I personally love the band. I think the band is great. It has some brushed finish on it. It has some polished finish on it. That beautiful blue dial. The indices are nice and thick. Gives a great presence to the watch face. I love it. And if you want sport, if you want elegance, and if you want casual, if you want something that's not going to stand out from the crowd, but when noticed will look like an amazing timepiece, that's what this is. But when compared to the PRX is more unique. You're not going to see it all that much more often. It's not the same. I'm gonna do a really crude comparison. I'm going to call this a Mercedes-Benz, and I'm going to call the PRX a Maserati. Now, I'm not a car guy. I'm not into cars. I could be completely off base here, but I think you guys get the point. The PRX is more racy. I think it's less of a commonplace watch. The Gentleman will suit racy and casual, but it's not going to be the best if you're just looking for that flash, looking for that look. It's more understated. It's more understated, and it's more common. So when I first looked at these two watches, I liked the Gentleman first. I liked it more, and I thought anybody who liked the PRX was just in it for the hype. But once I put the PRX on the wrist, I said to myself, okay, now I know why everybody's talking about this. It's very unique. It's very comfortable, much more comfortable than the band that I have here on the Gentleman. And so, therefore, I ended up liking it better. Now, I have this in the automatic. I think it's fantastic. I love it. I love wearing it. It makes me feel good, but it has its place. It has its place, just like everything. Hats have their place. Shirts have their place. Suits have their place. Shoes have their place. Everything has a place. The PRX has its place. The Gentleman has a place. The Gentleman is more of a well-rounded watch, but I do believe you will get less attention, if attention is what you're looking for, than the PRX. And I have a feeling that if you're like me, and probably like most people, if you put them both on the wrist, you will end up gravitating towards the PRX because of its comfortability and also because of the fact that it just looks so unique. Even with the quartz model, it looks so unique, and I love it. I fell in love with it. At first, I didn't like it. I thought it was an ugly duckling. I fell in love with it, though, after it was around the wrist. It is just super comfortable and super elegant. The Gentleman has its place. Absolutely beautiful watch. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, but I did fall in love with the PRX. I enjoy wearing the Gentleman. I enjoy wearing the PRX. I think they're good in their own right. It depends on what you want. What are you going for? What's your style? If you guys have the money to purchase both, I would recommend purchasing both. Now, the Gentleman also comes in a quartz. I can confidently tell you that because it is so beautiful, you will forget it's a quartz, just like I forgot that the PRX is a quartz, okay? When I wear the PRX, I feel like it's a strong watch. I feel that it has a heartbeat behind it, even though it just has a battery and a quartz, okay? So, in my personal opinion, you don't need to spend the extra money. It's not one of those watches that's going to feel soulless or lifeless, because really, when it comes to the PRX and the Gentleman, you're looking at the cases, and the cases are strong, beautifully made cases. Extremely good bang for your buck. You're going to forget that they're not automatics if you get the quartz. If you want to get the automatics, get the automatics. Absolutely go for it. It's great. As long as you don't mind that waffle pattern on the PRX, you know, that's the one caveat for me. I didn't necessarily like it. It's not terrible. I just like the depth that you get when you're looking at the sunburst dial. And again, for me, I am very happy with the 35mm in gold because it's an understated, more classic look. It's more classic. If it was larger, it would not be as classic and it would not be as elegant. It has its place, okay? If you're going out and you're dressing up, you don't want to be as overstated. Well, I think the 35mm is fantastic, especially in the gold color, because the gold picks up some of the slack. The gold has a power to it that the other colors don't have. So if you have a gold watch, you can afford to have it a little bit smaller because that color, that gold, will pick up where the size leaves off. It gives for a more understated, more classy, more elegant, more timeless look. And once you get used to it, depending on your body size and your styling preferences, once you get used to it, you will be very, very happy with it. Do I think they could have went a little bit bigger on it? Yeah, I do. But every time I put it on, it gets more comfortable on my wrist, and my mind is slowly starting to reevaluate the sizing options and what I like when it comes to actual watch wear. And if you guys follow the channel, you know that we take every piece of jewelry, for the most part, 12 feet away to give you guys the best look that we can when it comes to your jewelry. So first, we're going to take the PRX. We're going to take this 12 feet back so you guys can see what that diameter looks like and whether or not it'll be good on you. So this is the PRX from 12 feet away. I'll move my wrist around just a bit so you guys can hopefully get an idea of what this will look like on you. I am 5'6". I am 155 pounds today, and we are 12 feet away. What do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comments. What's your favorite size? We have the 40 millimeter gentleman around the wrist, backing up, backing up. Don't only let me know what your favorite size is. Let me know what your favorite style of watch is. I know typically we're doing jewelry, different types of jewelry on this channel. A lot of the time we're doing chains, we're doing bracelets, things like that. But I'm glad to know that some of you guys do appreciate the watch videos that I put out. Let me know what your favorite style is. Do you like the PRX? Do you like the Gentleman? Do you like any of them? Do you hate them? What do you think about the sizes? What size are you? Is 35 millimeters too small for a man? Even at a 6-inch wrist like mine? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. What do you guys wear typically? 35 millimeter PRX around the wrist. I'm forgetting that this thing is a quartz. Believe me, I am forgetting that this thing is a quartz. It is much smaller than what I'm used to. But what are your thoughts on it? I hope this helps you guys when it comes to choosing for yourself. It's very difficult online to choose different sizes, especially when the PRX kind of wears a little bit larger than what it actually is supposed to, I think. And just to throw in a little bit of a bonus and to give a little bit of a context, here we have my, I think it's about a 51 millimeter Invicta gold. And as you might be able to see, there's a reason why I chose a smaller watch in gold this time around. I wanted something classic. I wanted something elegant. This is not going to give you classy. It's not going to give you elegant. It's going to give you gaudy, at least in my opinion. Another thing I wanted to talk about, well, we'll talk about that when I come back forward. I actually offended somebody in the last video, and I apologize about that. I'd like to just address one thing. I just wanted to address the fact that I offended somebody in the last video when I said that watches were a complete waste of money. In all honesty, nothing is a waste of money if it makes you happy. Now, in this day and age, we have the time on our phones. Everywhere we look, we have the time. You don't need a watch. And if you do need a watch, nothing would ever force you to spend as much money as people do on watches. Watches are an amazing thing because they can be very addicting to a lot of people. When I hear people talking about watches and their watch collection, sometimes it actually borders on them talking along the lines of like a drug. It's something they can't get enough of. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you like to collect. Watches, when you look at the big picture though, a lot of the time, they're not always going to hold their value. Even if you purchase an amazing brand and you're able to flip a watch, for example, like some of the Rolexes, you can flip them for like thousands upon thousands of dollars more than what you initially purchased them for. You may not always be able to flip them. A large majority of the watches on the market will only depreciate in value, just like with a car, except for certain models, certain brands, and even if at one point they are appreciating, they may not always be like that. So while I did not mean any offense, because watches are not a waste of money, if you find value in something, I say this in many videos, if you find value in something and you appreciate it and you can afford to purchase it without hurting yourself and hurting the ones around you. I'm being very intentional with my words because this is real life here. People spend money on things they should not, and then their families suffer because of it. If you can afford to purchase something, you love it, you appreciate it, I don't think there's anything wrong with having it. But keep in mind, it's not something that you necessarily need. And therefore, in my opinion, a large majority of the time, they are a waste of money. Again, everybody's going to have their own opinion on it. Let me know what your opinion is in the comments. Keep in mind, I don't mean to offend anybody here. The last thing I'm doing is saying that your watch that you purchased is a waste of your money. Maybe for me, they might be a waste of money. When I came on that first video and I said that watches were a waste of money, that was the perception that I had at the time, because I said to myself, I feel like buying a watch. This is the amount of money that I don't mind spending. And I know that I'm kind of throwing it away because I already have a ton of watches and I don't need any more. I'm very happy with my purchases though. I wouldn't take the purchases back. I enjoy what I purchased and it didn't hurt me. So was it really a waste of money? It's improving my life. It's making me, happy. I look down at the watch. It makes me feel good. They're very versatile, so they go in different scenarios and different places in my life. There's nothing wrong with them. So let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts on it? Are watches a waste of money? Is 35 millimeters too small? What's your opinions? Let me know. PRX, gentlemen. Talk soon, guys. Be safe. Catch you all in the next video.